All right, good morning, class, and welcome to week number 3. That is right, week number 3 of your 7314 class, which is your reference class. As always, I'm your professor, Dr. J.S.K. Austin. And this week, what we're going to have is a state of the course update. We do have a few state of the course updates we have to deliver, and then we're going to talk about two very common APA mistakes that I have people make every single semester, and that I warn them about and tell them don't make these mistakes, and then they make the mistakes, and then I count off, and then they do not make the mistakes, hopefully the next time. And I will admit that this is kind of a flaw in the class design, but there's nothing I can really do about it. So every semester in every class, I do tell people these are two common APA mistakes that students make time and time again. And because the videos are optional, I shouldn't say most, a lot of the students just don't come across this information because the videos are optional. Those who do watch the videos, they do go ahead and get this right, and it's never a problem. But those who don't watch the videos and are not familiar with APA, they make this mistake all the time, or these two mistakes all the time, and then they get points taken off. And I don't want points taken off, so I'm hoping that you will, as many of you as possible, will actually not make this mistake, will watch this video and inform yourselves and not make this mistake. And that way I don't have to take off a lot of points from people, but we will see how that goes. I don't want to make the video mandatory, and so I know if I did make it mandatory, that would probably solve the issue, but the videos actually were mandatory my first semester here, and people still made those same mistakes, so it was almost like they were mandatory, but maybe people didn't pay attention. I don't know. But having said that, if you are not 100% certain that you know APA inside and out, then watch the APA stuff for those two common mistakes. Now, if you haven't in a class before, you've already heard that, in which case, yes, you can skip it from there. But let's go ahead and get into those state of the course updates, and we will dive into some APA issues from there. Let's roll. Paul. All right, so let's go ahead and get into a student view here and look at what's going on in the class. First of all, you all are in the midst of a two-parter for your discussion board. As I mentioned last week, the discussion board prompt number 2 that started last week, and you're continuing it into this week because it's not due until February 5th, which is this coming Sunday. And even if you didn't do the part last week, if you missed it, you can go ahead and do both parts this week, and I still won't count off as long as you get both parts done. Okay, but you are in the midst of that two-parter on the discussion, so go ahead and get that done. That's something you're going to want to get done by Sunday. The next big thing to know is that we actually will not have a check-in video next week because we will have our first sync session next week. That is next Wednesday. Again, next Wednesday, we will have Wolfner Library coming in, and Wolfner Library is Missouri's library for the for people who are differently able, be it if they're visually impaired or hearing impaired. Okay. No, don't get me wrong, all libraries have resources for such people, but Wolfner is actually dedicated to that cause, and so we are going to talk a bit next week about services to the differently abled. That's very important stuff when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's not just race and gender and sexual identity. It does also include those who are differently abled. And when I say those who are differently abled, yes, that does mean that anyone that needs library services, we should try to remove as many access barriers as possible. And few people have more access barriers presented to them than those who are differently abled. So, and I think that the literature is not expansive enough on this issue quite yet, and so that's why I do like having somebody come in to talk about it, because what Wolfner will talk about next week is going to supplement any reading material assigned for this purpose, for this topic very, very well. So I am very encouraged to the Wolfner Library presentation has gone very, very well. Students have really liked it in the past, so I'm hoping that you all will like it in this current class as well. And and by the way, even though Wolfner Library is based here in Missouri, for those of you who are outside of Missouri, as will be explained next week, there is a library in every single state that does what Wolfner does, okay? All right, so the other thing that we need to talk about really quick with the state of the course update. Oh no, we've actually got several things to talk about. I'm sorry. Don't forget you can speed this up, and I'll remind you in the I'll remind you in the announcement that you can speed this up. The virtual practice paper, for those of you who have not been in contact with your partners, this is due February 12th. So it is due in about a week and a half, okay? So if you have not been in touch with your partner to start on the virtual reference assignment, I very, very much recommend that you get in touch with your partner, okay? And if you are having trouble reaching out to a partner, please let me know. And I will make sure that you do not suffer from any inaction on the part of your partner. I'm going to make sure that you are not harmed by your partner, so don't worry about that. Dr. Jace is as fair as he can be, so that is how we go there. All right, so don't forget, in about a week and a half, you're going to have your first written assignment, the virtual reference practice and paper, and the prompt is there. And again, I will be checking for proper APA in this paper. So again, you might want to watch about those 2 common mistakes unless you are confident that you know APA and you know it very well. All right, a few other things to go through here. The next to the last thing that I'm going to talk about when it comes to state of the course updates is that I am looking for unassignments. Okay. And by the way, I'm in Student View. So for those of you who are like, oh, Dr. Jace does not read our stuff. No, in Student View, it looks like that. But once I go to regular view, it'll have all those read. All right. But let me jump into this here. And as you can see, this was due last week, and so all the submissions, I believe, have been turned in now. And so what I would like for you all to do, it's very helpful for you all to just go through this and just see what these different databases are. I picked some of the more common databases, but then I also did pick a few that are actually rarely used, and the reason for that is because those that are not very commonly used, I wanted y'all to be aware of those. And you might not actually become aware of those at your next job. You might actually just be aware of them through this assignment, but then at your next job, you might need to know that the database exists, even though nobody told you that the database existed at the job. Libraries can be very, very funny like that. So, yes, if you are, excuse me here. So yes, if you're not somebody who has high familiarity with these various databases, I would recommend that you take some time and review the work that your classmates have submitted, and this is going to make you a little more familiar with the databases. And then, of course, you can always jump on one of the databases here, log in through the library, and just try it out. You know, that is the perfect way to learn about a database, and I highly recommend that y'all do that. All right, I highly recommend that y'all do that. And then the last thing that we're going to talk about when it comes to state of the course updates is we are going to just give yet another reminder that you should be working on your semester-long project throughout the semester. It will be due on May 8th. You have plenty of time. However, I would recommend that you maybe do right now maybe 5 questions a week if you can, and that way it doesn't hit you like a ton of Brits at the end of the semester, okay? Because I've had students wait until the end of the semester to start in the past, and some students it does take 40 hours for them to complete it. I would hate for you to have to do a 40-hour assignment in 2 weeks' time. I don't want that to happen to you, so I would like for you to work on that assignment throughout the semester. All right, folks, let's go ahead and talk about some APA. Let's get it. Okay, so first I want to say this. I've made the mistake before of assuming that everybody knew about the Purdue OWL, and that is a big mistake to make. Everybody knows about the Purdue OWL, or for that matter, any resource. So the first thing I'll do is just tell you that, at least for the purposes of my class, but I can't guarantee this for every class, but for the purposes of my class, the Purdue OWL actually will suffice in giving you enough APA guidance to properly do your assignments for this class, okay? So you don't necessarily, for my class, need to buy the APA style book. Now, having said that, if one of your teachers does instruct you to buy the APA style book, please do not go say, but Dr. J said we didn't need it. Dr. J said you didn't need it for his class. I didn't say you didn't need it in general. So if another teacher tells you to buy the style guide, go ahead and buy the style guide. All right. Now, with that said, let's go ahead. First of all, you can get to the Purdue OWL simply by Googling. You can go to Google, and then you can put in Purdue. Purdue is in Purdue University, OWL, O-W-L, and then APA, and that will bring you here. All right. Now, once you are here, here are the common mistakes. I'm going to show you 2 common mistakes that people make, and I'm going to show you what you need to do to avoid these common mistakes. And then I'm also going to remind you that if you make these common mistakes for your virtual reference practice paper or for your Wikipedia edit assignment, those are the two that are going to have formal references pages in APA. If you make these mistakes, you will have some points deducted. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the style guide here. And the first thing that I want you all to know is how to handle authors. So, and I'm talking about the reference list specifically. I'm not talking about in-text citations right now. But your reference list specifically, something that you need to know about your authors. Okay. So, here's a mistake that I have at least a few people make on the first assignment every single semester, even though I do record these videos to try to help them avoid this mistake. So even if you have somebody's full name, if you have their first name, their middle name, and their last name, in APA in a references list, you do not write that information out. You will see as you scroll down, at no point are the first and middle names written out for the reference list. You initial first and middle names and do the last name, like you were seeing here. I have somebody make this mistake every single year, or every single semester that I teach this class. If I give the given names, they just go and put in the, if they have the given names, they just go in and write the given names, even though APA explicitly tells you not to do that. So please, as you are putting together your reference list, and I'm going to go ahead and jump into the books now. When you are putting together your reference list, please, please, please do this as the format. Author last name, comma, space, author first initial, period, space, author middle initial, period. And that is how you do it. And you will see again, this is consistently done throughout everywhere on here. If you write out in the reference list your author's first or middle name, I am going to count off because I am trying to train you all to use APA properly. Because once you all get jobs, professional jobs, they are going to expect you to understand the nuances of citation styles. Even if you don't know the citation style inside and out, they are going to expect you to know the nuances of it so that if you need to, you can provide service to a library user and help them with their citation style. Also, for those of you who are planning to be catalogers, you need to know, and archivists, by the way, you do need to know that those are very detail-oriented professions. So, if you are not able to keep track of when you are supposed to capitalize or lowercase or use a certain type of punctuation, you are not going to do well in cataloging. And I can say that with experience. I tried to be a cataloger first, but I do not have the detail orientation, and so I didn't make it in that job. Fortunately, there were other things I could do in public services, but I was not born to be a cataloger. And if you are born to be a cataloger, you do need to understand this nuance and abide by it. The second thing that I am going to say is a common, very, very common error within APA citation that some of you are definitely going to make this mistake, even though I am telling you about the mistake before you even turn your assignment in. Here we go. This is when you are writing titles for books, for articles, and so forth, the capitalization scheme is very different in APA from normal English. Please let me explain. Let me go into books. When you are writing the title of the work, as you will see here with this example, you do not capitalize every major word as you would with normal prose. And again, for those of you who do not know APA inside and out, there's no way that you would know this, but I'm telling you. So now you should know if you've watched the video, so don't make the mistake. All right? This does not follow normal capitalization format. When you are writing the title of a book for your APA reference list, the words that are titled are the first title, the first word of the title, I'm sorry, I messed that all up. The words that are capitalized, the words that are capitalized are the first word of the title, first word of the subtitle, and then any proper nouns. Again, first word of the title, first word of the subtitle, and any proper nouns. That is it. Okay? So that means that if you go and try to do the standard English capitalization, I will mark you wrong for that, because it's up to me to try to teach you how to do APA properly. Now, again, this does, proper nouns are still capitalized. So for instance, Alexander the Great was actually a great example up there. So Alexander the Great, because it's an article, is still lowercase, but great is part of the name that Alexander is known by. He is known as Alexander the Great. And so even though in the formal name of Alexander the Great, the is lowercase, great as a major word is still capitalized. So that is why we have this here. So as you can see, what's going on here in the title, first word capitalized, first word after the subtitle capitalized, proper nouns capitalized, everything else lowercase. You would normally capitalize legend. You don't do it here. You would normally capitalize life. You don't do it here. So forth and so on. More examples as we scroll down. Here is another title. Writing your journal article in 12 weeks, a guide to academic publishing success. What words are capitalized? Writing and A. Nothing else. I guarantee some of you will make this mistake and get counted off. But if you're watching this video, hopefully that means that you are going to avoid this mistake. All right. Now, things get a little funky with web pages and with periodicals, so let's look at those as well. They're a little more complicated than books. Let's go to periodicals. It's similar, but it is only for the article title, not for the book title. I repeat, you use this weird APA capitalization scheme for the article title only in a periodical, whether that periodical is a journal or a magazine or a newspaper or whatever. You still use regular capitalization for the publication title. You only do the APA capitalization style for the article title. Let me explain. All right, so let's take an example here. And as you can see, we still are not writing out first and middle names. But what we have here, this is the article title. This is the journal title. I repeat, this is the article title. This is the journal title. And here's your format. Title of article and title of periodical. The periodical title, as you can see, is normal. Purdue Journal of Service Learning and International Engagement. The only words that are lowercase are of and an, but all the major words are capital for the journal title. For the article title, as you can see, we're following that funky scheme on this article title. Data is capitalized, negotiating is capitalized. All these other words are lowercase. Scroll down and look at another example. That example I think is a little complicated. We're just going to skip that. But here's something out of a magazine. Great. So, time, only one word, but yeah, capitalized. As you can see in the article title, better late than never. Better is the only word that is capitalized. Newspaper, same thing. The Country Today is the name of the newspaper. All major words capitalized, first word capitalized. Here's your article title. Calls made to strengthen state emergency policies. Calls is the only word that is capitalized. I hope you get it, because I'm going to be looking when I grade your papers. Finally, let's look at these, let's look at the web stuff real quick. All right, so if you have a website, same deal. The title of the site follows the, actually, I'm sorry, because I don't want to tell you all wrong and confuse you all either. So when it comes to, yeah, sorry about that pause there. So what happens with web pages is the title of your page, again, follows that weird capitalization scheme. So if you're going to Medium and you look at this blog post within Medium or this web page within Medium, As you can see, the only word they've capitalized is lazy. Now, the thing is, the site name does actually follow the same deal. So, site name, Medium only has one word, so this is tricky. I wish they would have chose a website that had at least 2 words in it. But Medium, you capitalize it because it is that first word. But after the first word, you are going to do something very similar yet again. Okay? And unfortunately, see, and this is what I don't like. They don't have anything that is, they just don't have anything that really illustrates this very well in their examples. But yes, try to follow this format here as well. You see that with online resources, web pages at least, you are getting both with the site name and the page name, you're getting that weird APA capitalization scheme. So I know that can be very, very confusing. One thing you can do is you can use the online writery to, they can help you with your citations, and you can use them even as a remote student. So all you have to do to find the online writery is, I'm just going to put in Mizzou online writery. I think that's how they, yeah. So as a student, you should be able to use this. So if you're a little worried about your citations, you should be able to come here. You can just Google Mizzou online writery, and then you should be able to come here and you can probably ask them to help you with your citations, and that would be a very, very helpful thing for you to do. That is it. Yeah, and I hope you sped this up. We are under 25 minutes, which is how I like to keep it. When you speed it up, a 23-minute video becomes like a 17-minute video, which isn't too bad, I don't think. So there you have it. With that said, I am Dr. Jace, and I treat all of my students with grace, which is why I try to help you all avoid this problem before you encounter it. Thank you. Have a great week. Again, no check-in video next week. We'll have a sync session next Wednesday. Attendance is mandatory. Starts at 7 p.m. Central Time, meaning 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Mountain, 5 p.m. Pacific. And we do have a student who is international and residing in Korea. Honestly, I don't know for your time zone, but try to get that worked out for me, okay? All right, guys. We will see you next week in a live session. See you next Wednesday.